Today we're diving into T.C. Chappell's Nathanial Thatcher series.
Yeah, a world where stolen wishes fuel like this whole hidden society of sprites, and they're living right under our
It's a
noses.
really cool blend of fantasy,
Yeah.
with some social commentary sprinkled in. We're going to break it all down for you today.
We've got excerpts from Amazon, the Books website, even some TikToks. Oh, and a blog review too. So we've got a lot to dig into.
We're going to uncover some really cool details about the plot, the characters, what makes this series so unique.
Exactly.
But before we get too far, let's start with the book that kicked it all off, Nathanial Thatcher and the Wish Thieves.
Okay, so imagine sprites.
Right.
Those like mystical creatures, they actually depend on human wishes. Like imagine someone taking your wish without, asking.
Now, that's what grabbed my attention. It's not your typical fairy tale, that's for sure. It makes you think about, who really has the power here? Humans or, these magical beings?
Right. And it makes you wonder, like, are our desires really ours? Or are they being, I don't know, manipulated by these unseen forces, kind of like the sprites?
Whoa. Okay, that's a great point. And speaking of being manipulated,
Yeah.
let's talk about Nathaniel. He's our protagonist,
Oh.
and he's battling this, it's this mysterious illness.
Yeah, this poor kid's been basically stuck, confined to his room for like years.
And every year, he makes the same birthday wish.
Hoping that this time, just maybe, it'll actually come true.
And on his 12th birthday, things take a turn.
Big turn.
He gets thrown headfirst into this secret world of sprites and their power struggles.
Yeah, it goes way deeper than just one wish gone wrong.
Yeah.
It's like this whole system that's built on taking advantage of what humans want.
So Nathaniel's not just on a quest, he's trying to uncover the truth.
Yeah, and he has to confront some hard truths, not just about the sprites, but about himself and where he fits into all of this.
And the story keeps going, right?
Yeah.
This is just the beginning. We got 4 books, each one with its own twists and turns. Tell me more about that.
Well, I don't want to spoil anything, but
You got to give us something.
okay. What I will say is this. Their plan is huge. We're talking about changing the entire balance of power between sprites and humans.
Wow. Okay, so what started as this whimsical fantasy is actually about way more. This is about power, responsibility,
Yeah.
standing up to those in charge.
Yeah, and Chappelle doesn't shy away from those big, sometimes difficult questions. She makes you think about them, but in a way that's still fun to read,
Especially for younger readers. It's
Yeah.
like she's saying, hey, even if you feel small, you have a voice. You can make a difference.
Yeah.
And I love that. And we mentioned earlier that T.C. Chappell, she's not your typical fantasy
Yeah,
author.
right. And you know what? T.C. Chappell is actually a woman. Her real name's Tracy.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
And get this, she used to work in TV production, behind the scenes, in the camera department.
That explains so much. The way she writes, it's so visual, like I'm watching a movie in my head.
Exactly. And it gives the series this really unique feel.
Speaking of visual, you're about to mention those AI illustrations that Blue Dot Books has been putting out, right?
I was. It's wild. They've been using AI to make these really detailed illustrations, and they're sharing them all over TikTok to promote the audiobooks.
That's pretty innovative.
Right. But they made it clear, they're not trying to replace actual artists or anything, just experimenting with new ways to get people excited about the story.
I think it's smart. Even though the illustrations are made by AI, they still spark your imagination. It
Yeah.
makes you want to dive into that world and imagine it for yourself.
That's the magic of reading, isn't it? The author gives you the words, but you get to bring those words to life in your own mind.
And we're just getting started, really. We've only scratched the surface of this world that Chappell's created, from the politics of the sprites to the tough choices Nathaniel and his friends have to make. This series takes you on a journey. It's about discovering who you are, standing up for what you believe in, and finding your voice in a world that sometimes tries to drown it out.
It's like a reminder that you're never too small to make a difference. And that fantasy, well, it's not just about escaping reality. It's about looking at our world in a new way.
Exactly. And the Nathaniel Thatcher series does that really, really well. One thing that really stuck with me, it's not just about sprites and stolen wishes and all that.
Right.
It's about, finding your place,
Yeah.
challenging the people in charge, making hard choices.
Yeah, and those themes, they're so universal. It's not just fantasy, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Take Nathaniel's illness.
Oh, yeah.
We never find out exactly what it is, do we?
Right. We never get a name for it.
But It's such a big part of his life, the way it affects him.
It makes him feel different, like an outsider, and even more so because we don't know what it is, you know? It's like,
It's like a metaphor for anything that makes you feel like you don't belong.
exactly, whether it's like something physical or you just feel different, socially, Chappelle really gets that feeling across.
It's that whole idea of like feeling different, feeling vulnerable. Makes you think about those stolen wishes, really.
Yeah.
It's like how easily our desires can be, I don't know, taken advantage of,
Yeah.
especially when we're not feeling our strongest.
Oh, absolutely. Think about it, like we're bombarded with ads, social media. It's all telling us what to want,
Yeah.
what we should buy, what will make us happy.
It's like we're being programmed to wish for things that maybe we wouldn't even want if we weren't being told to want them.
Right. Just like the sprites feeding off of those unconscious desires.
Kind of creepy when you think about it that way.
But that's what I love about how Chappelle does it. It's not like she's hitting you over the head with it. You've got the magical battles,
Right. It's still fun.
the adventure, the friendships. But it makes you think, too.
It reminds you that even in a fantasy world, the human stuff, it's still there.
Exactly. And, going back to what we were saying about Chappelle's background,
Yeah, the TV production stuff.
it totally shows in how she tells the story. Like the pacing of the action, the way she describes things.
So vivid. You
Yeah.
feel like you're right there.
Right. You can tell she's got that eye for detail.
It's like she's storyboarding it all out in her head.
Maybe she is.
She's definitely making us think.
Oh, and we can't forget about the audiobooks.
Tara Sands.
She's fantastic, the way she brings those characters to life.
Her vocal range is incredible.
Seriously. Like, you instantly know who's talking. Each character has their own voice, their own personality.
It just pulls you right into the
Wow.
story.
And knowing that she's done, like, all those other voices from Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! I kept hearing those characters in my head.
That's so cool. It's like she adds this whole other layer to the experience.
It's the power of a good story, right? No matter how you experience it.
It stays with you, makes you feel things, makes you think.
And Nathaniel Thatcher definitely does all of that.
It's so much more than just a fun adventure.
Yeah.
Right. It's about self-discovery,
Mhm.
standing up to power. It's about figuring out who you are in a world that's trying to tell you who to be.
It makes you realize, even when things feel impossible, we have more control than we think.
We have the power to choose, to decide what we want,
Yeah.
what we believe in.
Exactly. And sometimes, diving into a fantasy world like this,
Yeah.
it can help us figure out those things about ourselves.
As we've been talking, it keeps coming back to me.
What's a...
This whole thing about stolen wishes. I don't know, it's kind of creepy, right?
Yeah.
These sprites just watching us, taking our wishes.
It makes you think, like, what kind of energy are we putting out there? What are we wishing for without even realizing it?
Exactly.
And if our wishes actually affect these sprites, well, it makes you think twice about what you're wishing for. That's what I love about fantasy, though, It takes something ordinary, like making a wish,
Right.
and it turns it into this whole big mystery, makes you see it in a different way. And in Nathaniel Thatcher, it's not just about the wishes themselves, it's about who's controlling them, who's benefiting from them.
And doesn't that remind you of, well, kind of how things are in the real world, too?
Oh, absolutely.
Like with corporations taking our data, showing us ads for things we didn't even know we wanted.
It's like a different kind of wish stealing,
Totally. They might not be sprites, but they're still tapping into our desires, trying to influence us.
Exactly.
Makes you want to be careful what you wish for, that's for sure.
For real. But, going back to Nathaniel, he starts out as this kid who's, like, trapped.
By his illness.
Yeah, and he just wants to break free, He just wants a normal life.
Don't we all?
Right. But through his journey, he learns that he's stronger than he thinks.
He goes from being controlled to taking control of his own life. And it's such a great message, no matter how old you are.
Totally. It's about finding your own power. And you know what? Sometimes reading a story like this, it can help us find that power within ourselves, too.
I love that. So, to everyone listening, think about what you're wishing for. What really matters to you.
What do you want to put out into the world?
Because you never know who might be listening.
Or what might come true?
And if you're looking for a story that will stay with you long after you finish it, check out the Nathanial Thatcher series.
It's a wild ride, and it might just make you see the world a little differently.
Thanks for diving in with us.